All right. Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Session number 4. 5 for those who abided this afternoon. Yeah. It's been a good weekend. I like the backward sweater, Anna. I like it a lot. Good job.
You just need the snacks in your hood.
Yes.
Yeah, fill it.
People do that.
It's a thing.
Host.
Yeah.
Hello, host.
Hi. I'm going to do a quick recap of what we've been doing so far. The first session we did on Friday was on purity. And we went on to boundaries early this morning. It was so good that I was not even looking at the time. It was amazing. Then we went to worship as a lifestyle. I was 30 minutes behind. But yeah, and then we had an abide session, and it was very good. And I think to start, I would like to see if anyone would like to share what your experience with the abide session was. I know Daniel and Marissa are familiar with that, myself too. But I would like to hear people's thoughts, because a lot of people are here for a while. Either they're really enjoying the sleeping or they're just really. That's good too. Sleeping is good because I slept. I'm not even gonna lie, I slept.
Me too.
But yeah, so
At least you're honest.
Anna didn't know that she could.
I didn't know, so I fought it the whole time. And then when I read the abide sheet, it said, you can sleep. I was like, oh.
It is interesting though about abide. Like most people that come here during our 8 to 8:30 or 8:39 whenever we do it, or our abide weekend, they actually have no idea what that means. They don't understand the concept. And even and we didn't even do it when I first got here. Like we only started doing it in our second year, and even then we've changed some of the way we do it. So like being able to sleep or being in prayer, and something we haven't done in a while, but we all try to take a mountaintop experience, which is a longer version of abide. But it's very interesting how a lot of people just don't know what it is and don't know how to do it. So it's very encouraging that people are learning how to do it.
And it's something we just fell on, to be honest. Like it just, we were looking at how to get deeper and more personal on a corporate level, and it just kind of fell into place.
Anyone else like to share?
I liked writing the scrolls. That was fun. I wrote scripture of Romans, Romans 45 to 5. And it was fun. And it just related to me. I never wrote in a scroll before. Thought it was cool.
That's cool.
That's cool.
That is
Nice. I like it. That's really good.
Kylie, your face is telling me you want to say something.
I guess for me, I actually had fun drawing. I guess sometimes I think, does drawing even count? It doesn't seem very spiritual. But it was no, there were markers in the back, and it's it was actually very.
Tania went hunting. Tania went hunting for markers.
Yes.
So they were put on out there
I
for
pulled out my personal stash there.
Wow. Extra credit if you wouldn't have told us.
reward here instead of
I got my reward
You
already.
got your reward already. Oops.
No,
No more. The rewards would be back.
she's like, I'm not talking now.
silly things happen.
You know what? You bring up a really interesting point about spirituality and what's spiritual and what's not. And if we're truly offering ourselves as a living sacrifice, like we talked this morning, then everything's spiritual. To the pure, everything's pure.
Hey.
Right? That's
Wait, whoa. That's
That's gold, man. Free gold.
Yeah.
Free gold.
If you're really living, but in all seriousness, if you think about it, then we need to have a deeper understanding as to what we're doing in a day. because it's all in one spirit or another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we want to chase the right spirit because we're spiritual beings. We're talking spirits. That's what PD says. We're speaking spirits. We speak life or we speak death. Power of the tongue.
Tyler, you're speaking straight facts.
There you go. I like it.
He don't speak any other way, man. He speaks 3 languages: English, Holy Spirit, Scripture.
Pretty much. I like that actually.
A little bit of
A
sarcasm.
little bit of sarcasm.
That's probably my flash.
Yeah.
That's probably my-
Vince?
Yeah, so I guess for me, at least when I often, a very common topic that I pray about is like asking for discernment and wisdom, just in general.
Yeah.
And so I did the thing where you flip open the Bible to a random page. Of course, this one was the Solomon asks for wisdom
Nice.
chapter. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And something I've thought about specifically with that Solomon passage, that where he is asked, "What do you want?" by God, and he asks for wisdom and discernment. And like, I don't know, when growing up, that was always, people made that answer seem like it was like he was like sacrificing something, or like he didn't ask for money, he didn't ask for anything like that. But to me, I look at it and go, I don't know, that seems pretty good to me. Like if you told me that like I was asked that question, that would, to me, that would be pretty high on the list at least, because it's like I'm assuming Solomon was pretty young, probably not much more than 20, and he has an entire kingdom to that he now is ruler, and he has to live up to the ruler who came before him, and David.
Well, and when he takes over in an era of his brothers are trying to steal the throne from him right away. Before Solomon even takes over, his brothers are announcing themselves as kings.
What a time.
And his mom had to go over to David, who's still alive, and say, I thought the throne was for Solomon. They're already proclaiming a new king. You're not even dead yet. Like that. That's a crazy time to take over.
Hostile takeover, man.
So like, it's one of those things where I completely understand why that would have been his sole request.
Only if you wanted to do it well. Right? In selfishness, you just ask for money. That's why God was so honoring of that choice, because it was like, because you didn't ask for power and money and all the things that would be self-driven, you asked to be a wise ruler, then all those things will also be added on to you. Yeah, sweet.
I just laid and listened to the music. I haven't done that one. So it's kind of neat because, like, usually when I'm in the abide space, annoyed isn't the right word, but I can't focus as much because of the music. So it's like, it's not like I don't like the music, it's distracting me from doing what I'm trying to be doing. So, like, I brought my Bible and I intended to do what normally we do for abide, and then it was kind of like, I don't know, excuse me, I was also a little bit sleepy, so that I think had something to do with it. But I kind of just like laid here and listened. Fought sleep as well, but I think I dozed off a time or two. Then I was like, I'm sitting in front of Tania, I need to sit up. So, but it was really good. It was really good though.
That's cool. Thanks for sharing that. That was so good. I will share. I slept, and then I did battle sleep, but I eventually lost, and I enjoyed God's presence while resting. And then I went into the book of Job, and I've done a paper on the book of Job before, and actually the book of Job really made me wrestle with my faith. Because I was like, oh, this God. And then I actually read through the dialogue between Job and his friends. And Elihu's stood out to me the most. It was good. Job was good. All right.
Oh, Zino.
Job, well done.
Yeah.
Oh, well done. Nice. Very witty.
Wow.
Very witty.
You're funny.
That sounds like
I know.
You were just this quiet sniper with your wit. It's so awesome.
It's so good. I like it so much.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
That's what my mommy says.
So what we're going to be discussing
I know.
tonight is what we would call "Where do I fit in?" And this topic was actually mostly coined and brought up by Pastor Tyler. And the first time it came up was, for example, we have, as young adults, we're usually single people, not always the case. But then we see a progression where as we age a little bit, we see some people get married. Our two lovely friends here are married, Daniel and Marissa. And then it's like there's this place. As you notice, people begin to get married, and you're in this weird situation. Everyone's making progress in life. I said everyone. Not everyone will get married, Paul. But yeah, as everyone is making progress in life. And then you're in this weird space where sometimes you are secluded or you feel like you don't fit into most things. And I actually remember my aunt. She lives with us. In fact, she still lives with my mom right now. She's in her 50s and she's not married. And she's a pastor. And I've thought about her and wondered, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, how can she be a pastor when she's not married? This is not adding up. And yeah, I feel like there's this mindset about being a young adult and being single and still trying to navigate life when you're single. And it's like the basis of the church is a family, right? When you're not in that stage, how do you navigate that? And I pondered for a while and I realized, I have nothing to say on this at all. Then I realized I'm actually really lost on the topic. So.
Well, and like in our culture, you have guys like Vince, who age out of being a youth, right? All of a sudden I'm a senior youth, and I'm in grade 12 and I'm kind of the guy. I'm the most mature in my age group. I'm the most mature in my church group. And then all of a sudden you turn 19 or you graduate and all of a sudden you get kicked out of the youth group and now you're just like thrown in with the adults. But the adults still treat you like a baby and like you got very little to offer. Or like I don't know, you just or like, man, like we got to make sure that this one doesn't kill itself. It's like it's just a baby, and so you get caught in this like
watching your facial expressions.
you gotta get caught in this. You're caught in this space of I used to be something and now I'm nothing. And the majority of people who leave the church as a young adult in the West.
It is true.
They age out of their youth group and then they stop going to church. They start getting very disconnected from being a part of the body.
I think it's especially accurate when you've also gone to the same church and known the same people your entire life. Because, we'll continue to pick on Vince. So say Vince is continuing.
Yes, I like that.
He ages out. But, the Grammies and Grampies at the church are like, oh, little Vince
you're still 7 years old. And they treat him like he's 7 years old.
Yeah, that's true.
And Vince is not 7 years old.
Oh, Vince, you have
So
a
it's
job
like-
now. Well done. Good job, buddy.
You drive now. Oh no.
Oh.
When did you get your license? Sweet.
You moved out of your
And it's also like you kind of go from that to people being like, so you married yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're-
And it's like this really awkward because it's
When are the
like
babies coming?
you're literally put
Yeah.
that too. You're literally put in this bubble of like, okay, yeah, you're not a kid, so like TikTok, where are you going? And it's very just awkward because the people mean well, but now it's kind of like, oh, now you're looking at me like I'm not doing it right because like, okay, I'm just simply too old to be here, but like I haven't met the stage that I should be as an adult. So it's this really awkward in between because like I was single till I was 26. So it was like I was old, man. Comparatively.
Yep.
So it was like a little bit, I didn't get too much of it because I'd kind of bite back sometimes. But it's awkward. It's really awkward.
I think what happens though, sometimes you get a pass if you go to university.
You do. You totally do.
Or if you go to like YWAM or whatever, if you go explore the world, then you get a bit of a pass.
But that person
People go, okay, good, okay, perfect. You're still in school basically. You're still not productive in this church or in this community, but you get a pass. We don't challenge it too much because you're on this like 4-year journey or 5-year journey.
the guy that gets a really good paying job out of high school.
Yeah, like
You're
you
still
get a-
single? You're still working there?
Hey man, are you tithing? Hey, you got that good job now? Yeah. Are you tithing?
Wow.
What is tithing?
Have you moved out of your house yet?
What is tithing?
It's close to home.
But like, what's tithing? Well, it's that thing you do when you have a job. I mean, we didn't talk to you about it as a youth because you didn't have a job. But now that you have a job, I have an expectation.
Now you give us money.
And so what I found a lot is what happens is as a youth group, like when you're in a youth, you're actually not held to a very high standard of very much of anything. Youth is often a fun time. Maybe you're doing some foundation work. You're encouraged to just enjoy life. Then you get out of high school, you get out of youth group, and you get hit with the
Reality.
now it's start living up to this thing.
That's so interesting.
But I have a concussion.
Maybe that's why a lot of youth are walking around looking like they have a concussion. You know?
I also think it has a lot to do with the level of responsibility that is placed on people compared to when they're 16 comparatively when they're 20.
For sure.
Because like when you're 16, you don't have as much responsibility, but then suddenly that gets placed a whole whack more once you got out of high school. And
I think though also to add what you're saying, Vince, is depending on the family dynamic young people grow up in, where like you would have had parents to teach you like finances and stuff, like how to save, how to spend. And even like with your kids, like your kids are learning, even with your kid, like they're learning how to actually do life at a younger age. So when they're 16, 17, it's not like they've hit the reality of, oh man, I'm about to be an adult. I have no idea how to be an adult. Where there are a lot of people who unfortunately have to teach themselves how to be kids, how to live as an adult. So it's just very interesting. We're in a youth group scenario where, and obviously like we said, like Sunday can't be your everything, youth group can't be your everything, but a balance of finding where, you know, teaching them what tithing is before they get a job and then realize, oh, I actually have money now, like what am I supposed to do with it? It's just not, it's where we lose, like you said, where a lot of young adults drop out of the church. There's just that gap there that I don't think we as a whole body do a good job of transition.
We don't. And one of the things with Youth on the Rock that me and the other leaders have consistently talked about is what do we do with guys like Vince? you know, you're 17, 18, you're coming to the end of your time at youth.
Moving
What
on
do
to
we
youth
do with them? Do we just expect them to just slide in with the men or the women? Or like how do they transition into the next layer of Christianity, where they don't feel like they're getting lost? And so, you know, fortunately for Vince, he's got some stuff to give back, and so, you know, he still goes to youth. You know, he still goes to Youth on the Rock, but he comes as a leader. You know, he started as a junior leader when he was in grade 12, and then he's now transitioning out of the role of receiving to now transitioning into the giving side, giving back to youth, being able to relate to them at that level. But how do you guys fit into the church without getting lost or feeling like you're a project?
I think a big thing that's been coming up from what everyone's been saying, and Tania spoke a lot about it in relation to Logan, is training. And as a child growing up in youth in a different continent, it's very interesting actually. I think it's, I don't know, sometimes I've seen youth here, it's like, oh, we're just trying to get the kids together and let's entertain them, and that's about it. And then I get back home, it's like, do they even meet? No, they don't even meet. But the reason I felt like sometimes it was like, this is my parents' faith, and so I'm gonna walk to church and do whatever they're doing. It's not like I care about what's going on in church. I'm just being entertained. But I think now that we're young adults, most of us get the opportunity to work with kids and youth. If we can actually look at the picture and say, I'm not just supposed to be entertaining these kids, then it makes transition a little bit smoother, because we're not just starting from there's nothing to work with, and then we're just gonna expect the young adults to not know what to do. But it's not gonna work that way. But if we start training people or kids or youth from their younger age, then it's easier to transition. And then we can look at someone like Vince from the example you've been saying. He started with a youth, now he is getting responsibility, and now it will be easier for him to go into the men's group. But if he was never given responsibility, it would be like, okay, I've been entertained, now who will keep entertaining me? Who will keep providing?
And could that be why entertainment value of church has become so important in our Christian culture these days? The worship has to be entertaining. It's got to be the tempo I like. It's got to be the genre I like. It's got to be all hymns, no hymns, a mixture. Like, we get very like, it better, the lighting better be good, the atmosphere better be good, there better be a greeter. Because I'm still going for entertainment, because that's actually what I was trained to do. I was trained as a youth that church is all about entertaining me and being fun for me. It wasn't actually a space to get trained in. It was just I love when my kids come home from a youth group, not Youth on the Rock, but like a normal youth group, and I say, so how was tonight? Oh, it's just so much fun. Yeah, what'd you guys do? And then they just talk about all the fun stuff, and I say, was there a message? Oh yeah. Was the message good? Yeah, it was great. What was it about? I have no idea. But the dodgeball was amazing. And you're like, I did not send you to youth to play dodgeball. I sent you to youth to engage in Jesus. Now, can we do that with fun? Yeah, for sure we can, obviously. But I wonder if it kind of is feeling like people are going from kindergarten to grade 8 right now. Because like in kindergarten, it's all about making school fun, right? Like there's not really a big, huge expectation. There's zero homework. There's like, it's like playtime. Like let's just enjoy being in the building kind of thing, right? And then grade 1 is kind of like a half and half. And then grade 2, but you don't start getting homework till you're like grade 5, grade 6. You got like 6 years of transition to understand that this place sucks. Right? Like this place is work. This place it's not all about the fun. So by the time you get to grade 9, you don't have an expectation that when you walk in that door, you're here for fun.
School's words.
Although what you've learned to do is enjoy the little things. You know, you ask someone in grade 6, what's your favorite part? Recess. You ask someone in grade 8, what's your favorite part? It's not recess. They still have it. It's not recess. It's like, I can't believe they make me go outside. Yeah, they do. I know it's ridiculous.
They do now?
Yeah. So, it's we figured that out in school system, that you have to transition to slowly have it still be fun while teaching them that this is a place for learning. And we have not done a good job of that in church. Declaring that this is a place of learning, this is a place of growing, this is a place of family, this is a place of community. And so, yes, we can have a lot of fun. We can have fun in the kids' church, and we can have fun in the youth, and we can have fun even as adults. But the focus of this place and this community is to grow in the Lord. Those are just some of my thoughts. What do you think, Anna?
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. I think that church has definitely strayed away from it being an equipping and ascending place rather than they've strayed away from equipping and teaching. Yeah. And I think a big issue with youth leaving is also the company they have, what kind of people they hang around. Because if you don't have somebody that you can talk to or someone praying for you or speaking into your life about Christ, then it's pretty near impossible to do it on your own.
Yeah.
Especially if you're just not really sure about anything and you're kind of just there for the fun and then transitioning, and then if there's no one really solid in your life, then of course you're going to walk away, because what good is that for you?
Yeah.
You know, it's not life-giving to you, you know, but it's just, I think it's more likely for people to stick around if they have good friends as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like, one of the, a big shift for me, even in parenting, was when I moved out here, and Pastor Tyler challenged me with, what are you raising Logan to be? Are you raising Logan to be 10, 11, 12, or are you raising him to be a man? And I got really stuck in that for a while, because, and as I've been thinking about it, I'm hearing the older generation go, let them be kids, just let them be kids, which is so opposite to how I was raised in the church. Like, rewind 30 years to me being 5 years old.
No, that's a lie. We don't lie on camera.
I think your math is a little off.
You'd have to rewind about 35 years, and I would be 9.
She might be doing math right then.
But there was there was a system that we functioned in. We sat quietly in church. And there was expectation placed on us.
Some of it really brutal.
Some of it really brutal. Yeah. Not all of it really brutal.
Not all of it, yep.
And then, as culture did, it did a big shift, and that happened in the church as well, to now, I mean, the grandmas and grandpas that were like, hey, why isn't your kid sitting quietly, are now like, let them be kids,
oh, you're all stressed out.
Whatever, and it's like, where's the balance in here of not being brutal with the expectation of your kids, but this is a training and equipping. We are raising these kids to be youth, to then, but it's like that whole mindset, you're raising them to be adults, and in that they will be preteen, they will be teenagers, they will be youth, they will be these things, but we're actually raising them to be adults. And we forget that, like, we don't do that along the way. So then when you guys become adults, it's like, now we got to train you how to be adults instead of having put it in place all the way through.
It's like in one day. You're 17 and 355 days old. You know, birthday's just around the corner. And they go, make your mistakes when you're young. And you're 18 in one day. Dude, you're an adult. Stop acting like a child. And you're like, what happened to the week? Like, what happened this week? Like, this week sucked. You know, I went from freedom to bondage almost like overnight.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the things that really helped me in understanding some of the transition points through Scripture, in the Old Testament, they had lost the law. It's missing. Like, I don't know. It never talks about how it got missing or whatever, but it talks about how one of the kings found it. King, we found the law. He's like, okay, let's crack that sucker, right? And they read it, and he gathered all the people. And it says, he gathered all of those of the age of understanding. He didn't say he grabbed all the 13-year-olds. He didn't say he grabbed all the 18-year-olds. He didn't say he grabbed all the 3-year-olds. He didn't say he grabbed everybody. It said he grabbed everybody, every Israelite of the age of understanding to declare the law out. And you're like, could it be a lot of the broken model of either being brutal or too lax has just been trying to be the everything for everybody? When there should be a portion of age of understanding, conversation. There should be a portion of foundations, and honestly, guys, when we put this all in the church, we've all got it like completely wrong. The greatest moment for me as a parent was realizing it was my responsibility to train up a child. Their spiritual life was actually my responsibility as their dad, not the Sunday school teacher, not the church, not the pastor. It's my job because the Bible declared me to be the trainer. Now, can I use the church? Yes. Can I use the youth group? Yes. Can I use the Sunday school class? I can use all those as tools at my disposal, for sure. But at the end of the day, I'm responsible to train this child into an adult.
Yeah.
And so what we need to do is we need to break the culture of church being an event. And we really need to solidify this idea that, especially in the in-between of being a youth and a functioning adult, right? I'm established in my career. I'm now productive in the church. I'm now financing the church. I'm now giving back to it, right? In that in-between, we have to really be understanding this is the time that we're training in lifestyle. And this is what Timothy talks about, or was talked over Timothy. Like, don't let them discount you because you're young. But in the same letter, he's being challenged with the thought of study and show yourself approved. Like, don't just run around like you got a bunch of stuff to share, like trying to prove yourself. Study and show yourself approved. Like, do your work on your own end. Like, start taking responsibility for your own journey. Start taking responsibility for your own walk, while not allowing people to discount you because you're young, like you have nothing to offer.
Yeah, I think that's why it's like a two-way street that you're talking where, like, that the older generations, let the kids be kids. It's like, but also as the young adults, we also have a responsibility to act like young adults, like men or women. It's not just on you guys.
You older generation.
Yep. And
I don't even know what generation mine's called because when I was in school, we didn't have generations. We had baby boomers or nothing.
Yeah.
You guys have Gen X and Gen Z and millennials and Gen F, Y, and A, I guess, probably somewhere. And you've got spaceships and
You can just be
I
a
don't know.
boomer.
There's a
It's
generation
okay.
for everything. I don't even know where I fit
He's
in.
not a boomer. Our
Generation
parents
X
are
was the
boomers.
first one, and that was you and me.
You guys could be boomers. You're old enough.
Just on the cusp of a Generation X. Some people say I am, some people say I'm
So you're a baby boomer then.
not. I'm not a baby boomer.
Well, that was the generation before.
I'm gonna throw a water
Right?
bottle at you or something.
But no, seriously, was it?
My
If Gen X
parents
was
are
the
boomers.
Look at. But listen, lots of people were boomers. That was like a 40-year age thing, right?
You guys can be boomers. It's
So
okay.
you're like, so if you're on the bubble of Gen X, then that means you're on the bubble of being a baby boomer.
It's like
True?
He likes to
It's
talk
not
about your
true.
age a lot.
Well, if you're not a Gen X, what would you be?
2000. It's like the millennium.
I'm just a Gen X. It'll be fine. Why did I have to open my mouth to that?
And on camera.
Sometimes.
Now, back to what we're talking about. Thank you all.
Good job,
No,
Zino.
I'm
What a
50.
baby boomer is. Okay.
But it does get confusing, even in the language, guys. Like, even in the language of today, I don't even know where I fit in anymore. I've been living this life a lot longer than you guys, and now you've declared over me that I got to figure out where I fit in when I've already passed that stage.
Mhm.
It's like I don't even know what generation alphabet I am. We didn't have that as kids.
And because based on the generation alphabet, I like that a lot. Based on that generation alphabet, there's actually a level of expectation
yeah,
placed on you. Like Gen X is the workers. That is the worker generation.
makes sense.
Like we had to be, we didn't have a choice. And then
Most of us, when you think of growing up in the 80s, you guys are just coming into this problem today that we lived in as children, which is high interest rates, high mortgage payments, not being able to afford housing, not being able to afford groceries, not being able to afford lumber, not being able to afford. I remember it in like when I was 5 and 6, my dad would hand me a bucket of bent nails. Nails were so expensive. And he would say, "Here you go, buddy. Here's a hammer. Make them straight. Dad needs them."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Well, Dad, can't you buy them?" Nope. We can't afford that. Or he'd give us a bunch of like twisted up, nailed through lumber, and he'd say, "Bang the nails out, but take care of them because I want you to bang them back straight." And you're like you guys in Canada and the States in this last 30 years have no concept for that reality, but you're starting to, because now interest rates are way over. Mortgage rates are getting to that 10% and higher. People's mortgage payments are getting higher and higher. The possibility for paying off these mortgages are getting lower and lower. Food costs are going higher. Lumber costs are going higher. And all of a sudden you're getting into that, like, you don't have as much for your kids. So the benefit of growing up in that was you learned to make money on really fun things like Kool-Aid stands and like, whatever. We were all little entrepreneurs because mom and dad didn't have $5 for us. You didn't get penny candies. Mom and dad said no a lot because they were more focused on getting bread on the table than candy in your belly. So you started being little entrepreneurs. You would go cut grass and you would go help out and you would go anywhere to do anything that anybody needed because otherwise you were getting nothing from it. But we really don't have that today.
And each generation has digressed in a level, like in what they're expected and what's expected of them. Like, we really do sound like the old people right now.
Well, you are the old people in the room.
But the challenge is that for what you're saying, the reason that is though, I know what it feels like to be in want. I know what it feels like to be in lack. I know what it feels like to never get candy. I know what it feels like to see all these great things around me as a child and not be able to experience them. I know what it feels like to have Christmases where mom and dad was talking about it was going to be light. There might not be very much. So I know that. So I don't want that for my kids. Not understanding that struggle was exactly what brought me to be me today. So then I work really hard so that they don't have to. And then what happens is they don't understand how to put in that effort. And so then what happens is then they raise the next generation of entitled children who then grow up to do the same thing because we've broken that model. And we were the last generation to have that.
Yeah.
That work ethic.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously people in your generation have a work ethic, but you know what I mean, culturally.
It's not as common though in our generation.
We were way less entitled because we were taught we were entitled to nothing. Like even things like child tax today. I talked to my mom about child tax. I have 5 kids. Child tax is pretty awesome when you have 5 kids. I talked to my mom about that. She's like, she had 8 kids. She's like, I think I got $100 a week for 8 kids. Like, government wasn't helping you with your kids.
I remember, because my mom would give me, that was like my allowance, was the child tax. Like, that was my clothing, that's what That's what I had. And it was $62.
For a month, probably.
$62 for a month.
Yeah.
That's what my mom got paid. Like, that's what my mom was given for me. And that had to cover everything. Like, everything, any sports activity that I wanted to do, my clothes, my like, everything. That's what I had in a month. So $62 sounds like a lot until you have to pay basketball fees and running fees and buy a pair of running shoes, like all the things.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, like it is different. And all of this to say, where are you guys? Because all
And
of
what
this,
are you building?
yeah, and all of this stuff has happened. There is a history of, and we can go through it all. I mean, my great-grandparents were from the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm.
All of that passed down, all like whatever. And now you guys are in this very different space. And like, what's the question? Where do you fit in?
Yeah.
Where do you fit in this world that is being built around you sometimes?
Truth is, the future is yours, not ours.
Yeah.
Right? You guys are actually building our future now.
What is that saying you like to preach? If people ride on your coat rails, or you're launching, like PD's launching pad.
Yeah,
Sorry, I don't remember.
I want my ceiling to be your floor.
Mhm.
Where I max out is where I want you to start. I want you to take over for me. I want it. I would really like to know that when you guys are sitting here 20 years later, that you're sitting here 20 years later, pouring back into something, rather than 20 years later you've given up on something. Like I'd really like you guys to understand. If I could help you understand anything about fitting into the churches, who did Paul give over his ministry to? Timothy. Right? And he gave him over some pretty tough spaces.
Yeah.
Like the church of Ephesus. And then he was giving him some pretty hard mandates about what he had to do to fix things that had been broken by other adults. And he's like, hey, young man, I want you to go.
Yeah.
Well, when I think of where do you fit in, where do we belong as young adults, the question that comes up in my mind is, what is my purpose?
Mm.
And for me, I didn't go to university or college or anything like that, but I felt really guilty, or maybe like I missed it and I made a mistake, because I don't feel that way now, but I did. And because all of my other friends went to college or university and they're already done now.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of them were done already.
Yeah.
And they're already like in their careers and just they've got their life together as far as I see. But I don't, obviously we don't really always have our life together. But
She put the quotation marks.
yeah.
If you can't see.
And so something that I learned in my time not in school was more about God. And I wasn't really doing anything special from a worldly viewpoint, but I think in the spirit and in the kingdom viewpoint, there was some deep roots going down. And I was, at the beginning out of high school, I did not really do much to cultivate a relationship with the Lord. But then as I had more time doing really nothing, I started to pursue a relationship with the Lord. But then I was like, but what am I supposed to be doing? What's my purpose? Like, where do I fit in right now? Because people are telling me how to act, but I don't feel like I have that capacity. Like, I still feel like a child. Like I don't want to do taxes, and I don't want to learn about these things. I don't want to go to the hospital by myself.
Don't want to pay bills.
You know what I mean? Like all these things, and so
That's why I got married. So I had somebody to do all those things for me, so I could stay a child.
So the answer to that question, what is my purpose, is only the one who created you knows your intended purpose.
There we go.
So if you want to know your purpose, talk to your creator. Ask, be specific. Ask, Lord, what is my purpose?
Yeah.
What was I created to do? What did you make me for? you know, and he is faithful. He will answer you, and it might not be in the way that you think he'll answer you, but he will.
I think in addition to that, it is a good question to ask, but I find a lot of people do get stuck up on that question a lot. Because I remember, and then because we're stuck up on that question, we then tend to follow the motions of things or the patterns the world has described as this is the path. So if I want to find my purpose, I will look at other careers and decide, okay, this one looks like I could be passionate about this one, and then we fall in line without ever considering what God actually has to say concerning what He wants us to do with our lives.
If you start working though at like, I don't even know what the age is, like 15, 16 now, and Pastor T brings this up often, you could almost work 3 to 4 careers in a life. Like if Vince continues to stay where he is, he could retire in, I'd probably say in your 30s. Still start.
You have pension every year?
Yeah, you do. Your dad does.
Yeah. So pension usually kicks in at 15 years.
Yeah.
You could start collecting pension at 15 years.
Then quit, and if you want to retire technically with a pension and start another career, and just sharing with what, like, you out of high school. Even when I was out of high school, all my friends went to university. I ended up going to college on the whim last minute. But it's just like everyone's so worried about grade 12 and all your family. So what are you doing? What's your next step? You're going to college? No, what are you going to do? I'm just working at this place. So you're working at minimum wage. I'm like, but it's a job. It's a start. Like little beginnings. But like our world's like, like comparing like, are you married yet? Do you have kids yet? No. Are you still single? Yeah. I'm 26 years single. Yeah. But I'm working. Like, it's just that like boundary of like, you could work almost 4 careers in a lifetime. So like, there's not.
The pressure really isn't on to get to some destination. If I could give you guys any kind of encouragement, it would be, look, Vince, how old are you?
19.
19. And you've been working there a year? Yeah. So, I mean, literally at 33, you're pensionable. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, right? Then you still have 30 more working years in our today's standard. When you think about it like that, when I was at 0 at 35. I had made all kinds of money. I had lost all kinds of money. I had done all kinds of things. I had lost all kinds of things. But when I got this realization, but all with that pressure of what am I going to do, and I got to accomplish something, and I got to be somewhere, and all this stuff, and it's like, why are you in a rush? You got forever, and exactly to what you're saying, like, build your foundation right now. Build your work ethic, build your spirituality, build your healthy habits.
I also think that when it comes to your purpose, I don't really think it's something that you're supposed to do. It's something you're supposed to be.
Yeah, come on.
And
anywhere you go.
And also, it can be for some people, but I don't necessarily think that your career has to be your calling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your calling is a lifestyle. Like, when I understood that I was called to be a teacher, and then I look back at all my career stuff, everything that made me good at business and leadership was my teaching gift that I just didn't recognize. I was the guy that I was the guy that read handbooks and knew, corporate law and all this crazy stuff and made me really good. But that I didn't realize that was just me operating in my gifting, my natural gifting, and I took it in every space I was. And that's to your point. Like, if you start understanding your calling is to be something far greater than your career or your whatever, but it's your everyday.
My experience with purpose is in that time. I don't know if the right word is limbo. It's like in limbo. Basically,
feels like that though, right?
Yeah.
That is
so during that time, I really realized that I come alive when I'm with music. And then I was like, Lord, like, how can I even live like this? I can't make money really on this kind of thing. And then, but the focus shifted from, Lord, how can I be impactful for you? Just doing something that you created me to do. And so for me, I feel like I could worship forever. That's what I feel like I could do. I feel like I could just play music forever. And so I'm like, God, is it really okay for me to do this? Is it really okay for me to do this? Like, for my life? Will I be, obviously people are going to be like, you just play music? Okay. But for the Lord, I mean, if that's what he created me to do, and I know it's impactful, I've seen it, it is impactful, so I'm like, Lord, is this really okay? It feels a little bit too easy.
But it should feel easy.
Yeah.
Trust me on this one, I feel guilty that I teach most days.
Yeah.
Like I do, I feel guilty that I'm not being nearly as productive as other people. And it's like, that's what it should feel like when you start sitting and resting. And for an encouragement for you on the whole, like playing music for life, doing nothing else. Anybody tell me what worshipers in Scripture, what their second job was? What was their productive job? When they set out the temple and they set up worshipers, what were they supposed to do to sustain themselves?
Clean the temple?
In fact, they were commanded to do nothing but worship. They're commanded to do nothing but worship. They were to do no regular work. They were only to be worshipers. So they didn't cook, they didn't clean, they didn't fix stuff. They were highly honored, highly revered, highly respected.
It was the people that was supposed to take care of them.
People were supposed to take care of worshipers. People were supposed to take care of the teachers. People were supposed to take care of those who serve the church. The church was never supposed to be a career. It was supposed to be able to build up all those other people whose call was to go to work or go to here, or who had building skills or who had business skills or whatever. And we have all this disconnection because we just don't understand our resources and how they're supposed to spread around. So then there's people like you who have a gift to be able to usher us in to the presence of the Lord. And have a desire to just worship the Lord and allow people into it. And their style of worship had no audience. Like when you really think about it, they literally worshiped to the Lord all day. They didn't worship, nobody got benefit to that. They literally just sat in the temple and worshiped. And when they went to the war, who went first?
Levites.
The Levites went first, guys. It wasn't the armor bearers that went first. It was those who were carrying the presence of the Lord because they were sitting worshiping him all day. And so that had enough value for everybody else to go to work and to support that. We got to get a paradigm shift in how this thing's supposed to run. In what we value. Talk about worship as an attitude. What we give worth to. You're telling me that I will tell you this, okay? I will tell you this confidently. I always preach better. I always preach better if the worship was sweet. There's always an awe and a reverence in the room already before I start talking. Worshippers don't ever worship better because I spoke. Right? I don't have this great message and they go, you know what we should do? Based on that great anointed message, we need to get on our face and worship. Yes. No, it's like, you know what we should do? Based on that amazing worship, you know what we should do? We should talk from the floor. Because I don't want to stand up right now. You know what? In fact, I'm not going to say anything. I had a whole message prepared and it's gone. That doesn't happen with worshipers. It's not like, wow, that message was so great, I can't even think of a song. Right?
Sorry.
Right? And yet, most worship teams aren't paid when the janitor is. You know, because nobody will do the janitoring for free. Most worshipers have to have 2 or 3 jobs in order to be a worship leader. Or they got to make an album in order to worship the Lord. We need a paradigm shift, and it's your generation that is ushering it in, because there's an authenticity rising up amongst young adults that's going to carry something very different.
Amen.
You know, that we didn't have with all our P's and Q's and button-up shirts. You guys are questioning things at a younger age wanting it to be real or not at all, that we didn't have. And so you actually have a very sweet space, and it's to usher in the future. You guys are the future.
I feel like I just share a testimony. I was one of those people who was like, yeah, I will figure out my life and go on this path. School, and that's how I actually ended up in Canada, actually, because I was going for medicine. And then it got to a point where I realized, if I should go into medicine right now, I would be lost. I would forget God. It would be a tough time, and that's when that's how I ended up here, because I had to figure stuff out, and it's like, if I'm actually, because at that point I had tasted that God was good, but I felt like I would lose what I had gained. And that's been a big fear sometimes, actually, that I really don't want to lose God's presence.
Come on.
And yeah, so be encouraged that even I did go to university. I'm possibly considering not going to. My dad hears this.
He's not watching. He's probably not watching.
We will block this episode from your dad's Facebook and your
Mr.
mother's.
Zino's dad, would you please just give her just a little bit of grace and mercy in this moment as she speaks from the anointing? Your parents are lovers of Jesus, though.
They are.
And Jesus will prepare their hearts for whatever He's got in store for you.
It is interesting, like, Pastor Tyler and I have started to talk quite a bit about, like, I mean, our community and what we do here. Like, I quit a corporate job, had
I sold the business.
zero money in my bank account at all, with a 10-year-old in tow, and I now live on 16 acres of lakefront property. And the church, like, the verse that just keeps running through my mind as you're talking and as you're talking and you're talking, it's like, do not conform to the patterns of this world. And I know that verse can be looked at from so many different perspectives, but we as a church body have conformed to the patterns of this world and wonder why we're left wanting in our relationship with God. There is, like, yeah, I my mind just went blank after that, but that is the reality. So for
Pretty
you to
profound
sit
thought,
and say, Lord, can I just worship? Like, that's the pattern of God. That's not the pattern of this world. And another verse that's been running through my head this weekend is, like Paul says, if I am in my right mind, it is for you. If I'm out of my mind, it's for Christ. So we're actually supposed to look so opposite to the world.
Wow.
When, I mean, I think of my family, and most of my family outside of my dad and Judy, like, they have no concept. Like, they can't grasp what I'm doing out here. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? They have no idea. But I've never experienced peace. Like, I've never experienced peace before. I can't even say not like I have since here. No, I've just never experienced peace before because I was conforming to the patterns of the world. I was trying to keep up to the world. And I mean, talk about marriage. I'm 44 and I'm single. I've never been married. I just need a husband. You don't. No. But it is hard. It is. I spent my life in a hamster wheel trying to keep up, trying to go from one space to the next. And I mean, because too, I didn't have the benefit of being married to kind of cushion myself. So I had to prove myself all along the way. I didn't have anything to fall back on. I didn't have that kind of stuff. So I spent 20 years trying to prove myself to get to the point where I stripped everything away that I'd ever accomplished to get down to the core basics of what God created me for, which, yes, he carried me, like I can look back on my life and I can see those things, but I stripped it all away to do something that my friends from my old life and my family are like, what in the world are you doing? Mm-hmm. What in the world are you doing? And so there's, I don't know how to bring this around now, but be encouraged. Like we're not supposed to fit into the pattern of the world. We're not supposed to. The church has, I think, in a lot of ways gone too far trying to fit in.
Too trendy. We're just trying to be trendy, culturally relevant. And it's like, and so what we've done is we've made everything permissible, because we're trying to conform Scripture to today's pattern instead of patterning today after Scripture.
I guess something I would like to commend you guys on is what you've built here at Rock Lake. Just the type of community you built here is something I have never seen before. It's like,
I love this place.
And I've been here coming for probably 6-7 years.
A long time.
Just so I've seen some of the progress and just change that's happened here, and just especially with the reboot program, and just you've made a community, and I think that's why people keep coming back, like a big reason. And probably the one thing that I guess that many churches miss is the real impact that they have, because you come in Sunday for about 2 hours, 3 hours.
Yep.
But like here, like the people that take, well, this was probably Zino, you're in and out. People like Daniel have been here for a while. You are changed.
And you can't stay stuck when you live in community. And I love that you're saying some of that, because like my heart for the Church of God is to be a family for real. I want everyone when they come here, whether they're brand new, or like Anna, who's been coming for a bit, still kind of new, or Kylie, who's been coming for a bit longer, or Vince, I want everybody to step in here with such a great comfort that they don't feel like a member or a number or a congregant, or they just feel like they came home. Where they just like, hey, no, I'll grab that. No, I know where that is. Yeah, hey, I'll help you. I mean, how many of our guests? You guys want to hand wash some dishes? I love to bake. Can I bake for a bit? Hey, I love to worship. Can I jump? I noticed you didn't have a drummer. Like,
no, I paid to be here, but can I just join in the volunteer?
Like,
can I pay you to volunteer here?
Can I just live here for 3 weeks, then go away? Sure.
Like it's just like Vince's.
Or grab someone to move a dresser.
Vince's dad actually is the one who really wrecked my theology on what community life could be like. They started coming here the same year I started here, and they came and they stayed and they lingered, and I was like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, can we come back? When nothing's happening for September long weekend. I was like, yeah, it's great, no problem. You can stay up there, and he's like, I noticed a bunch of trees up there that need pruning. So what we'd like to do is take our family vacation and prune trees for you. Wow. And I was like, yeah, that's amazing. That's so great. and then he tries to pay me for his campsite. Like, what are you doing? No, obviously not. But he did anyways, and I was like, what are you doing? And he said, I just feel like in the kingdom, we got to take care of our own. Like, and there's just this mindset for me that just like from being a business guy and trying to figure out this kingdom stuff that just like was like what is even like this is supernatural for me. Like that was just so not normal for me that you would see a need and want to take care of it. And I want to cultivate that in the body of Christ. I want to cultivate this mindset and this attitude that we got to take care of each other at a higher level. Quit taking care of the unbeliever while you're not taking care of each other. Like we gotta do a deeper, greater job of building the family because we're stronger together. Like what one of us can do on our own, which is what we do all the time, we can do to some level, but Bible math is exponential. One can take 1,000, but two can take 10,000. But we're spending all of our time doing ones. So we're only taking 1,000 all the time. When all it would take is for me to, like, in partnership, if we would start partnering together, where we share resources of time, talent, and treasure. You know, that is the model. You know, Vince's parents are youth group leaders in Winkler. So I invited them to lead youth here. Why? I don't want to recreate the wheel. I don't want to be the everything for everybody. I have leaders who lead on an intimate level that I know that have a heart for God. Do you want to do that here as well? Do you want to partner together? Yes. Sweet. Now we're doing something sweet and we're doing something kingdom. I don't want to go, wow, you've got this great idea. Let me do it here. No. I don't want to copy somebody else's something. I want to complement somebody else's something. I want to breathe life into it.
Yeah.
It's important.
So then basically what you're saying is where do you belong?
Where do you belong?
At Rock Lake.
Yes! Amen. We're done the show now. Bye.
If you're watching, you can sign up for our reboot program as well.
Promotion?
We got a telethon January 27th.
We do have, now listen, if you're actually watching this to the end, which very few of you will, although Facebook will tell me you did.
Yeah.
So sneaky. We do. Our next thing we're going to do, we are going to do an old school telethon. That's what we're going to do at the end of January. We're going to do it on Facebook Live. We're gonna turn it into
That's a good question.
Oh, that's so funny. I forgot we were at a young adults group and they're like, what's a telethon?
I'm glad you asked.
I'm glad you asked.
You are both to be informed.
Oh man, that's thank you. Yes. I'm not a baby boomer, post baby boomer,
It's
whatever
like-
it is. Okay.
It's a fundraiser.
So a telethon, what used to happen is especially for like public broadcasting, what they did to raise money was they would take 24 hours to promote what they were doing while doing programming. So basically you'd have this this scene of these people in front of phones. And you can donate too, and our goal is, you see it on a radiothon, but it's for television.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna do that. We're gonna have
Let's check in with Susie. I was just talking to Mr. Smith, and
who
he
donated $1,000. And we're just gonna have fun with it. We're gonna.
That sounds fun.
It is fun, and we're gonna have it as a family fun day. So there's gonna be sliding and snowmobiling and skating and ice fishing, and there's gonna be French fries and hot dogs and it's all
Tea with
free.
Tess.
It's all free on donation. So if
Really
you
hoping to snow.
so if you can only afford $1 for your whole day, that's what it's gonna cost you. If you can afford $100 for the day, you give her. If you can donate right now to the telethon with $10,000, that would be amazing.
Info
Like,
at
whatever you can
rocklakeministries.com.
Info at rocklakeministries.com.
That's right.
We accept checks too.
I'll take the deed to your house, no problem.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah.
This is-
Move to Rock Lake.
Yeah, just move to Rock Lake. I'll give you a place to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are gonna have a bit of fun with it. It's at the end of January. We're gonna start doing some pre-spots, which is what we're gonna do tomorrow with Anna. Talk time with Pastor T. That's a pre-spot. That's kind of the idea. And in between, we're gonna raise some funds to continue to do what we're doing for very, very, we really do try to do things on the cheap, because I don't want anybody to be hindered in being equipped based on finances.
Yeah.
I don't want people. I know what it feels like to want to go to that conference, but not have the money for it. I don't have the $65 to pay that ticket. And I don't have the $200 for the hotel room, and I don't have the extra $100. I don't have $500 to go to a conference to be built up. And so I just didn't, And so we never want to be that place. We never want to be that place where money. But to do that, then we need the people who have to help with that. So that's just true.
Yeah.
Zino, good job. You did such a good job being the host.
Yeah.
And I remember the song!
And you did. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow at 10:30 for Talk Time with Pastor T.